I don't know how I define myself, to be honest. Instead of defining myself, I'd rather have other people tell you who I am. Because which hand, there's so many versions of me, but I'd rather not be the one to say it. Let other people say it. I'd rather they be the ones to tell the story. I see. We're going to get into more and more detail. Okay, then I can explain this. Up until a certain age, I really knew who I was. Then I lost a lot of the things that made me who I am. And with that loss, I'm searching for myself all over again. I mean, its absence has put me in a time where I'm finding or trying to learn new reasons to hold on to life and to redefine myself. So I can't yet give a definition of who I am. In 3 words. Joyful. Happy. Excited. I grew up in a very small town. And where I grew up, there were so few options that I was always trying to find the newest thing among them. I mean, I grew up in a very limited place. People don't fully grasp it when I say that, but I literally found out about the next neighborhood over, that it even existed, when I was 13. So I was always very excited about new things, a new arrival, a new person. That's why I was such an excited kid, excited to go to a new place, to get outside of where I lived. That's why I said excited. Success is about how close you get to the dreams you've set for yourself. I mean, not in the eyes of others, but for yourself. Every person has a dream. There's a place they want to get to. Success is how close you get to that place. I can't list all my dreams one by one. But really, both for myself and I have so many dreams of being an inspiration to others. Okay. I want my drawings to get to a certain point, and I want to start exhibiting them to people. Yes, I want to have an exhibition, but also, not right now. I'm already drawing now. I've been drawing for a very long time. I have a studio. I've started drawing there too. But I'm not talking about right now. When I reach a certain age, I want people to say, these are works by Hande Erçel. So I shouldn't talk about it too much. I don't like to talk about things until they actually happen. I wasn't like that before. I used to tell everyone right away, like, it's going to happen. But I'm past that now, because I realized that when I talk about things over and over, they usually don't happen. Maybe we use up its energy, I say it so much that its energy gets depleted. So now I've learned to hold it in a bit, to keep it to myself. I don't know. I mean, I didn't actually lose that much weight. I was always like this. Actually, there's a misunderstanding. People thought I was very overweight. I mean, I was very young. I've been in the industry for 12 years now. And the weight I gained and lost during my teenage years was so much in the public eye that people thought I was very overweight. And then they thought I'd lost a huge amount of weight. But that's not what happened. I gained some weight over about 1.5 years, 8 kilos. I was 8 kilos heavier than this and lost them 1.5 years to 2 years later. That's all that happened. But people blow things like that way out of proportion. I don't know why. The things said about my body. I believe some of these things will end at some point. But in general, this is life. This is what it is. Really, as you fall and get up, as you're able to fall and get back up, life knocks you down again. Maybe if I hadn't been able to get up when I fell, life might not have hit me again. It's like you're guiding it a bit too. I'm here, I'm strong. I can handle this, I can do this. And then life says, well, since you're used to it, let's see you try again, I think sometimes. Or maybe sometimes you need to stay down for a while. Yes, because until then, I didn't really know life. I didn't know anything. I mean, I didn't even realize I was crying, or what I was truly happy about, what I was truly angry about. Those things didn't exist, or I wasn't aware of them. I was living much more superficially. I'd fixate on something, say, I'm going to do this, and chase after it without ever looking back. It was after that I learned what emotion really is, what life really is, what a person is. Those are all things I learned afterward. But I'm glad I learned it that way. I'm glad I didn't know before, so I could live my youth that way. I had a fun youth. I'm a person who falls in love very, very deeply. I mean, it's like this. For example, I'm also very in love with Mavi. I have 3 children, 3 dogs. I say I have 3 children. I'm very in love with them, too. I'm very in love with my friends. In my relationship, I'm deeply in love. Love. It feels to me like the highest emotion I can experience. It covers everything. It's beyond emotions, something I feel that brings fulfillment, swells my chest with pride, and makes my heart grow. That's love. Truly, every person is a reflection of one another. I believe in that. And let me give an example from this moment. I came here and I'm having this conversation with you, and I feel such a good energy within myself right now here. I love myself so much in this moment, doing something like this for the first time, knowing you won't judge me, or knowing I won't judge myself. I'm giving myself that compassion, and my energy passes to you. And you know it now, too. Wait a minute, I think I can like this girl. I think this girl is really here with her genuine affection. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If I can find that within myself, I believe I'll reflect it outward. I believe the eyes that look at me will receive it, too. I'm not talking about those who are bad, whose hearts are filled with malice, or people who feed on hatred. There's nothing we can do about them anymore. That's unfortunately a part of our times. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. If I love myself, if I approach myself with enough compassion, you'll approach me the same way. You'll love me too. Now, love, I mean, you can fall in love. You can fall in love at first sight. But whether you'll share a life with that person, that's a decision for the journey you'll embark on. Now, we can't just dismiss it and say it can't be love at first sight. You can fall in love. It's a journey. On that journey, we'll see what happens. Will you trust them? Will you accept them? That's a different matter, I think. I can't combine those two things, because the real issue starts after that. There's a very clear answer to this. Sunday. A Sunday. We have absolutely no work to do. We're at home and the kids, my 3 dogs are with us. It doesn't matter if it's winter or summer. We've ordered our favorite ice cream. We've put on our show. We go to bed eating our ice cream and loving on the kids. It wasn't like this before, but Mavi became a light for me. She became the sea. Blue makes me feel a different kind of peace. It was midnight blue, for example, at one time, but now it's shifted to a lighter blue. Blue always gives me a sense of peace. I guess there's something that comes from my ancestors. White, blue, things like that. I guess it's related to them. I don't know. Blue reminds me of my mother. And my baby is Mavi, which means blue. I've always loved a lot. There are people in my life I love very much. And there are women I love very much, especially. I always hear this from them. Generally speaking, I'll talk about something general. It's something they always say. They always told me to keep going. Always keep going. That's what I've always done. Whenever I wanted to stop, they said, keep going. And I kept going. But generally, all the women I love who have touched my life said this. During those bad times, the bad times I'm talking about, I was made to feel terrible by people in my own country. I was made to feel terrible. That's why things happened that I can't forgive. Things happened. People's social media comments, or I don't know, tabloid comments, so strange, things happened that I will never forgive. I can say those, yes. People made very cruel comments without knowing me at all, without fully understanding what I was going through. Just like you mentioned, maybe they thought I was overweight because of my body. I can be overweight if I want to, but I didn't think I was. But I was attacked so much back then for my weight, my acting, my circle. And what I was dealing with was something else entirely. I wish they had chosen a better time. But that affected my entire life so much. Maybe the calmness I've transformed into today is because of that. It affected me so much that I don't forgive it. I was very young, and those are not things you should do to a very young girl, I think. It's a very wrong example, a very wrong thing. They are very wrong actions taken against a very young girl. I won't forgive that period. I don't forgive it. Just like you said, back then, such harsh things were said to me. I was called Baslama. So many harsh things were said about my physique, about my face. I was judged so much for my acting. I was hit hard. So many bad things were said. There were so many. It's countless. That's why I can't name anything specific. Think of it like this. There's a group of people. They pick one person. And they do everything together just to make that person feel bad. Not one person, but as a group. And that collective evil, unfortunately, has an effect at some point. Even if it's not just one person, at some point, that collective action is a very powerful energy. And you create that effect on a very young girl. I was dealing with something much bigger. Like I said, I was in my own bubble. That was something else. That's when I was able to separate everything, what I was dealing with. I was fighting for my life. It was my life on the line. I was fighting for my life. I was at a point where I just wanted them to leave me alone. I think that's why I was able to get out of it. Otherwise, if I had been a girl who hadn't gone through any of that, I really could have fallen into that pit and done a lot of things. I could have changed a lot. I could have turned into a very bad person. My troubles were different anyway. I had my own troubles. They were different. I stayed on this path, in this state of calm. Like I said, since I grew up in a very small town, I first came to Istanbul when I was 17, and I didn't have much travel experience. Then I started working. After I started working, I went on a few trips with some friends, but one day I took my backpack. I bought a ticket, and I went on a trip by myself. And I went to a place I had been to before. I didn't trust myself enough to go somewhere I'd never been. I went to a place I knew. And without a plan, without going to my usual spots, I just left the airport. I wandered from street to street. I sat in a cafe, had a drink. I went to dinner. I was so much myself, and it was my first trip with money I had earned myself that it was such a huge source of strength for me. Yes, I remember that. It was one of the moments I felt the strongest. I don't actually shut off my emotions, but not many people understand or know me. I mean, I don't really communicate with people I don't know. I'm not actually shutting them out. It's not something I do consciously. I used to be a social butterfly, but I've changed so much. Because, as I said, people started judging so much without knowing me at all. With social media, with this new world, I'm judged so much now, without any basis. That's why I don't feel the need to explain myself anymore. I only open up to people who truly want to know me.
And like I said, the world we live in isn't some utopia. It's a world that genuinely has problems and needs support. And in that world, I personally feel extremely ashamed. You know what I mean? When these kinds of things happen, and then something completely different, something less important, gets all this crazy attention. You know? But unfortunately, that's kind of the reality. For the last 2.5 years, I've started writing very intensely. And I realized that it felt a bit like therapy, but definitely. Well, we've written 3 projects so far, which I write with Osman Kaya. Of course, it's drawn from life. I kind of realized that. If I couldn't put certain things from my own life into it, then, because when there's a real, lived experience in it, and you're already chasing the truth, inevitably, I think, a lived experience can also be this. Something you've heard or something you've observed in someone's life can also be a lived experience. But specifically for Mavai Magara, there are parts one used from my private life, from my family. Love? No. Nothing like that. No. Because it's a toxic. Anyway, I'm about to get into a whole thing, so the other day I read something really beautiful, and I really liked it. You know how in relationships, fights break out and you shout at each other. I just read it the other day, and I'm trying to remember where. Anyway, in it, the guy explains it like this. Or this philosophy. That shouting is actually a symbol of how far apart your hearts have grown. That's why you shout. Because you're here, and I'm here, and we're shouting at each other. Why are we shouting? Because your heart has grown so distant, and my heart. That's why we shout. But when there's so much of that passion and that love is there, what happens? We actually start to whisper. Because our hearts are that close. I think that's what it is. Well, I don't know about that, but here's the thing. Acting, it came into my life in middle school. In the sense that, at school. You probably know. In high schools there, they have plays and all that. It's something taken pretty seriously, with pretty big productions, just like it is with sports. So I started in middle school. Then I continued in high school, with musicals and stuff, but, just for fun, because my friends were doing it, that kind of thing. Then, in my senior year, there was a very important play. It was a competition piece and all that. And there, they give out scholarships for, actors who are going to study acting. It's usually this thing called UIL. It's a nationwide thing. But I was more interested in music at that point in my life. There was sports and there was music. Then I had to take 2 years of electives. My elective course, which I chose, was in acting. There, my teacher, Miss Curzon, said something to me. Come and play this game, really complete and stuff. An 8. I don't think much, a lot of things, music and stuff. Anyway, this game happened. It was a play, and it was very successful and so on. And there, my family was a little bit like that. And now I've become something. So because that's the first okie this is a character. Character psychology, getting into character, etc. That was my first experience with that part of the job. After that, I got my thespian thing and so on. I said, okay, I want to act. Of course, my parents were in a big panic. So I found my mother at Emerson College. Well, because I said, okay, I'm going to act. After that, my mother said, take a look. First of all, I think their plan was to get into marketing. This one forgets about acting and goes to the marketing level and does something similar. That's why you do acting, film school, etc. Of course, the first thing I did as soon as I entered was this. This is how it is. It was always my dream years ago, my dream since high school, to get into production, into filmmaking. He has been my partner for 8 years, and we founded the company. So, that part is a significant passion. But here's writing for the last 2 to 2.5 years, which was something completely different. Writing about something, then the fact that a place accepts it, and then you see your set like this, and you argue with your friend about what you imagined in a room where you wrote, whether he should say this or that. So it's a very strange thing to see happen. That's why it's probably filmmaking. So it's something I'm very much in love with. That's why it's my passion. But whatever your other passions are, I really do Lego with passion, which you already know. What was the last thing you completed? The last thing is the Eiffel. But of course now, I'm on another level of my life. University is ending. Acting and stuff. I said, well, what I see is that at the end of the day, we all know this. Okay, we will die. So it depends on how he lives. That is how I live. Because at the end of the day, if the outcome of the story is the same and we are going to die, then it doesn't matter how much money you make, what you do, etc. After a certain point, it doesn't matter much. Okay, you can live your life well and do things, but if you're always going to live with it if only inside you, then I'm not sure if any money you have will bring you happiness. So that's why I was like, I'm okay with that risk. Maybe I'll never have a comfortable life, but if I go after what I want, maybe there is, but. On the one hand, I really believe that no matter what, it's happening for us, And at the end of the day, I'm here and I'm talking to you, and it's okay. So I'm glad everything happened the way it did. I think if you're happy, you're successful. But if you're successful, you might not be happy. And really, being happy in a world like this is, I think, a huge success. I'm happy. Of course, like everyone, I think, we have our moments of unhappiness in life. But in a general sense, I know how to be grateful, and I am grateful. And when I'm grateful, I feel happy. But in a general sense, yes, I'm happy. It's just that I don't put success and happiness in the same category. Well, I'm lucky that I've had a few of those moments. So, whether it was with my family, I had some really beautiful moments like that in my childhood. What? The first time, when it was something related to acting, the very first time an audition got a yes answer is a moment I still remember clearly. Before that, I had never received a positive response, so hearing that yes for the first time was truly special and meaningful to me. It was for an El Pollo Loco commercial, and the only thing I did was bite a sandwich. I just couldn't believe it. I was so happy. I remember that shoot, which lasted maybe 3 hours. For a commercial like that, I mean, I went, I shot it, I took a bite, and I was on cloud nine. Like, this is gonna work out, and all that. I'm calling my dad saying, I can't believe it. They paid me for this, and stuff. I guess that was it. I guess that was it. Really. Whatever that means for that person, that's it. I mean, unfortunately, not many people in this world have that opportunity, but I think that's how you should live. Freely.